Hey guys, and welcome back to Victori's Creations. Vicky here. If you're new, welcome. If not, welcome back. As you know, this is a very busy time of year for me because not only do I have my business here and my tutorials, but I am also a teacher and I specialize in the seniors, and it is graduation month. So today's project or tutorial will be little graduation caps made out of cardstock, and it's just the shape of the cap with tassels on it in honor of our seniors, and I'm going to put them on the walls for our seniors to be able to enjoy and then take home when they do their grad walk. So if you're ready to jump on in, follow me over to my crafting table. I'll tell you what you need to do this project, and then we can get started. For today's project, you're going to need your cutting machine. I'm using the Cricut Explorer Air 2. Standard grip mats. I'm using the 12 by 24 and the 12 by 12. Vinyl. I'm using removable premium vinyl in black and in white. Cricut weeding tool, Cricut brayer, Cricut scraper, Cricut light bright, foam mounting tape, tassels, scissors, printable clear sticker sheets, cardstock. I'm using 2 shades of the red, laminator, laminating pouches. Now that we have all of our supplies, let's get crafting. First thing that we need to do is go ahead and create our graduation forms, and that's basically going to be squares. You're going to go to the left hand side and click on shapes, and you have two options for squares. You have the rounded edge, and then you have the pointy edge. I'm going to use the rounded edge just because I like the way they look. I want to change the size of my squares to 5.5, and I'm keeping the locked so that when I change one side, it changes on both and keeps it in the right form or right proportion. I want to change the color of my caps. This is not necessarily like important, but since I am using red and I do kind of want to see what it looks like as I'm going, 5.5 square is the right size because I'm using the cardstock or the scrapbook paper, and those are 12 by 12 sheets. You can get 4 of the 5.5 squares on one sheet. I'm going to need to do enough to have 25 sheets because 25 times 4 is 100, and that's roughly how many I need. So with your square selected, on the right hand side right above your square, you'll notice it'll have a duplicate button. Click that. That gives you your 2. Then you can take your mouse, highlight 2, duplicate on both. You can also slide these down because I'm going to actually use my 12 by 24 mat so I can get 8 squares cut at a time. You can also select them by going to your layers column here. Select the first one, hold down your shift key and select the rest of them and duplicate. That gives me 8 all total. Once you have your 8 squares created, you can click your Explorer. Make sure you have the machine that you're going to be using selected. Because I'm using my Cricut Explorer Air 2, I am selecting the Cricut Explorer family. I'm going to go ahead and save these so that if something happens, I don't have to recreate. Not that it took me long, but I'm not putting them in a collection just because I have not put anything in a collection. So now that you have it saved, click make it. You want to change your mat size to a 12 by 24. That puts them all on one. Now, don't just send it straight to, because if you'll notice right here, you can see that these 2 mats are on that 12-inch mark. Remember, you're using the 12 by 12 pages or papers, so you want to make sure that there is nothing on that 12-inch line. Y'all know I always like to space mine out a little bit, get it off the edges, but definitely make sure there is absolutely nothing on the 12-inch line. Once you have everything lined up just the way you want it, everything is off the edges, everything is off the 12-inch. You don't have to worry about your mirror simply because there are no words, it's just squares. Click continue. Because I am cutting with cardstock, I'm going to choose cardstock for intricate cuts. Click More. The next step will be to load your fine point blade, and it will tell you here if you need anything in clamp A, what you need in clamp B, and to load and press the load unload button. Once you load your tools and materials, you will press the load button, and then you will press the Cricut C. Remember to flip when removing and peel your mats away, being very careful with your cuts. You come across one that was not cut all the way through, don't just rip it off. Use a little small pair of scissors to cut it. That way you don't tear your paper. Repeat until you have all of your graduation caps. To create your names with the offset effect, the first thing you need to do is select text, move your font over so that when you do look at your font, you'll be able to see it. Type in your name. And for the sake of this tutorial, I am going to just use the word last name as one name instead of using my student's actual last name. Before I cut it out, I will change this to her actual last name. Once you have it set up, you want to measure out. If you're using the same measurements that I have used, you want to make sure that your width is 3.95. Undo the lock mechanism and change your height to 1 inch. Once you have your font sized the way you need it, you'll click on the offset in the top toolbar. I like to keep mine at 0.25 on the rounded corner. Click apply. You'll notice that the color is black for the offset. Sometimes it's black. Sometimes when I do it, it is an off black color. I want mine to be white because that is what I'm going to cut it out as. And I want the name itself to be the darker black. Once you have your offset set, you're going to separate them. When you put all of your names in the way I'm doing it for all of my names, I'm going to put all my names in, do the offset, and then I'm going to take my offset, put them to the side. I'll show you what I mean. Hit another text. Just for the sake of this tutorial, change my size 95 by 1 inch. I put this here, lower it down a little bit. Offset. I'm going to change the color of the offset to white. Change the color of the font to the darker black. Now I have two names and two offsets. I'm going to put my offsets together. Using my mouse, I'm going to select both offsets, and in the bottom, I'm going to select attach. And what this does is when you click make it, it's going to keep these together exactly where they are. I'm going to do the same thing with the names. Click attach. Same thing when you make it, it's going to keep them together. So when you cut them out, you will know that this group of names goes with this group of offset. It'll make it a lot easier to be able to match them up to each other. Once you have your offsets attached and your names attached, you can click make it and then cut it out. Again, for the privacy of my students, I'm going to skip over recording the weeding out of the name so I can protect their privacy because I will be using their first and last names. As your pieces are cut out, make sure that you are matching up your white offsets with your black words or names. That way you can keep them together and it'll be easier to do the next part, which is matching them up. For the offset, I'm going to use my light bright so I can see the offsets. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a peel where instead of peeling these out, I'm peeling the outside. Have your scissors handy. As the vinyl gets long, you can be cutting it. And that'll make it easier too. Remember to go slow so that your vinyl does not end up pulling or getting stuck. When the vinyl gets too long for you to deal with, just cut it, pick up more, and keep peeling. Leave your offsets on the white backing so that when you weed out your names, you can do one at a time and layer them over, center them on the offsets for the protection of my students because I have their first and last names on there. I will not be videoing putting the names on the offsets. Once you have your name centered onto your offset, you will peel your offset away, the name intact. You'll want to find the center of your hat. And to do that, you can use the mat on the back side and just kind of line your points up with the lines. Remember, we don't want it on the center because this is where the dot for the hat and the tassel will go. So we want it to go below that. Line it up. Place it down. Be careful with the transfer tape. Try not to scrape the transfer tape on only the offset and the name. And then very slowly walk your transfer tape off. Once this step is done, we will laminate it. Go ahead and finish putting your names on all of your hats and then we'll meet back. Once we have our caps laminated, And let me just go ahead and notate that when you laminate these, because this is cardstock, sometimes it laminates decently, and sometimes you find that it's not 100% laminated or sealed. It's okay. The only reason why we're really laminating these is, for one, to make them last longer, but for two, so we can hang them on the walls. And I'm going to be using hot glue to put them on the walls, and I'll only be putting a small dab in each corner. Now that we have this part taken care of, it's time to add our next touches. You're going to use your tape here to apply your little buttons that are supposed to be in the center for the cap button. Cut a little piece off of your tape and apply it. I need a smaller piece than that. Apply it to the button itself. If you can get these cut already in small enough pieces, that's great. If you can't, that's okay too. Peel it and stick it in the center to the best of your ability. You'll notice that it's raised a little bit. Now it's time to add your tassel. Take your tassel and just put it underneath your button like this. And then you're just going to put a small dab on the back side, a small dab of glue on the back side, and that's just to hold it in place, and then let it dry. Smaller dab next time. And just repeat this process. If you need to, cut your tape in half before adding this. Is very sticky tape, so you have to be very careful. Add it to your button, peel the back, add it to your center, add your tassel, and just a little dab of glue. Repeat the same process on all of your caps. Once your caps are done with their names, their tassels, class of, you can add other embellishments if you would like. I am going to leave these as they are because, well, let's face it, I'm running out of time and I still have their keychains to make, which is a video that is coming up next week, and they're going to be graduating towards the end of this month, and I would like to have these on the wall for the school and my seniors to enjoy for the remainder of their time at the high school. Remember, these do not always just have to be wall decor. You can use these to go on top of a gift. You can use these to hang. You can put a hole in them and hang them from the ceiling, however you want to do it. But I just thought they were cute, a cute little idea to do up for decoration for the seniors and to give them just a little keepsake that they can take with them after graduation. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial as much as I enjoyed making it. There were a couple of hiccups, but we made it through. And in the vast majority of it, or the bulk of putting it together, I did end up having a couple of my seniors help me with creating it. I was hoping to get it all done in one sitting and be able to have it up and surprise them with it on the wall. And while I am going to surprise some students with it, because some of them, the vast majority of them, did not know I was doing this, and they're already on the wall, which is why I don't have one to show you right now. But they're up. It looks good. I enjoyed it, and they'll have another keepsake to take home with them after they do the graduation walk. through the hallways of the schools. If you have any suggestions on how I can improve on the graduation caps for next year, because yes, I will be doing this again next year. I do want to do a little bit, I want to always improve every year. So if you have any suggestions, I'm definitely all ears about that. I will say one thing, I did end up having to re-laminate some of them because when we laminated in the big pouches, it ended up not staying or sticking for, I guess, because of how thick the cardstock was. I ended up having to take some of them out because the laminate opened right back up. I ended up laminating them by themselves one at a time in an 8x11 laminate pouches, and that seemed to work out really well. So lesson learned for next year, I'll be laminating them one at a time. I'll just make sure I have a lot of laminating pouches. But if you have any suggestions, please comment below. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. It does help. And if you enjoy this tutorial, give it a thumbs up. Until next time, remember, keep crafting your best life.